Hello again. My name is Louis Almeida. I'm the student and teacher of Gurdjieff and Spinoza's teachings. Today I'm going to talk about Viktor Frankl. Recently, there was a posting on Facebook, and I read his book, Man's Search for Meaning, many, many years ago. It had a profound effect on me and many others. This book was published, I believe, in the 40s. He was a Holocaust survivor. He was from an Austrian, um, and he was a neurologist and psychiatrist. And he uh, observed the people in these concentration camps, the camp that he was in for a number of years. And he saw that people became victims of a give-up-itis, a state of hopelessness will say um, become they become a victim of hopelessness. And he found that individuals who had a purpose and a meaning survived. He observed individuals who were very strong and had seemed to have a good attitude, but yet they succumbed to their feelings of hopelessness and gave up. And when they gave up, they died within a few hours or days or weeks. Viktor Frankl survived, and he lived to tell his story. The death camps, there were actually death camps. Uh, People were killed randomly. They were starved. There was disease. And yet, he saw that there are individuals who wanted to live, wanted to survive, and there are many others who did not. What is in the individual? What is in us that wants us to persist and exist? Spinoza calls it the conatus. The conatus is an expression of all things, all living things, the will to live, the will to exist. Spinoza talks about the law of self-preservation, the law of necessity, the law of cause and effect, and the law of inertia. These laws determine human nature. And of course, Spinoza emphasized that man lives by desire. Desire is the essence of man. So if you're in a concentration camp and you have no purpose, hopelessness and give-up-itis becomes your way of being, and you do not exist very long. So what is this thing in us that wants to survive? You must have a purpose. You must have a meaning. And that's what Viktor Frankl found, a purpose and a meaning. So at first, his meaning, his purpose was his wife. He was married, and he had hope and that he would see her again. He had a mother and father and a brother. And so he had a hope that they would survive, that he would survive and he would meet them after this horrible part of existence no longer was a part of their life. But I want to talk about having a meaning and a purpose. I found my meaning. I found a purpose in the search for it. As a young man, I had everything. At the age of 30, I had the American dream. I had a business, a good business. I was a hairstylist. I had a clientele. Money came, and I had investments. I had a lovely home and a beautiful wife. And everything that we'll call the American dream. And yet, I was dissatisfied. I was disappointed. In reality, I was empty, and this is important. An individual who is empty has no purpose or meaning. All these material things are not satisfying. To some people, they are. You might find a purpose in your family, a purpose in your job. But your family could be lost if you're, I'm 84 now. I'm from a family of, say, 11 siblings, and they're all gone. All gone. I am just by myself. And I have a partner, and I care for her, and I love her very much. Now, in my family, my parents didn't have time for love and individual attention. They didn't have time for guidance and uh, well, caring and love. They were too busy uh, surviving, putting a roof over our heads and having food on the table. That was their purpose. However, children need more than surviving. They need more than a roof and food on the table. We all need love. We all want attention. We all want to feel important. So most of my siblings, when they existed, many of them turned to drugs, alcohol, or their life ended very early. Why? Because they lack meaning, they lack a purpose, they feel empty inside. And how do you feel? Have you found your purpose? Do you have a meaning? Again, I'm fortunate that I met my teacher at the age of 30. He says something about what Gurdjieff communicated. Now, Gurdjieff was a 20th century mystic. Uh, he had a good grasp of psychology also. And he said several things that were very profound. He said that man is asleep, that it's possible to awake. But what was he talking about? He also said that the ego nature, the personality, can become the material for growth. What is he talking about? And he says that we are always considering others before ourselves. And he said many things in the psychological area that I focus on. There are many things he talked about that doesn't make sense, that I do not relate to. I do not relate to the octaves, the planets, the dancing. To me, that's all ridiculous. But the psychology of man is profound. Now, Spinoza explains how to come to a higher level of consciousness, a high level of being. And that's something else that Gurdjieff talks about. What is the difference between knowledge and being? Very few people can explain what he's talking about. I know what he's talking about because I've not only read his material, but reading is not enough. Reading is not going to change you. I had a teacher, I had a mentor, I had a coach, and he helped me understand to a certain level. Then when I was on my own, I had to put in the effort to clarify what I was taught and find a deeper understanding. So my teacher introduced me to Gurdjieff and also introduced me to Spinoza. And it's in Spinoza, the part is called the improvement of our understanding. And that is where we must learn to understand. Now, I've had many students, and they don't understand what this means. And you may follow Gurdjieff, you may follow Spinoza, but nothing is changing your character. Why? Because these ideas are abstract. They have no meaning. You haven't found your purpose. You're not dissatisfied with your life. You're pretty happy. You may be comfortable, too comfortable, and that's the problem. You must be desperate, disappointed, dissatisfied to want something new. The ego nature is basically the devil in us. We are easily satisfied. We believe we have free will. We believe that we're the cause of our desires. And the interesting thing is, your whole physical body, you did not create it. And you're not creating your future. You imagine you are. You do not have free will, but you imagine you are, that you do. You believe your choices are yours. That's an illusion. So again, you might be turn me off. That's okay. But I'm looking for those individuals who are dissatisfied, who are disappointed with being successful. Successful is not giving them, really, is not feeding their emptiness. You must realize that you are empty. Empty of what? Empty of clarity, meaning, purpose. What does that look like? What is a meaning? What is a purpose? I find meaning in my understanding of Spinoza and Gurdjieff. I find the intelligence that is in you and is in me. We are born into the ego nature. We're born into a family that communicates egoism. And that is our first birth. Our second birth is an awakened state. Our spirit, the mind. The mind is the spirit of man. But if you live only from your ego, your desires will take you. Our first birth, again, is the ego nature. It's important to survive and to exist. All your pleasures, all the material things your ego enjoys. It's interesting thing is, Jesus, I believe Jesus was a man. He wasn't a God. He was a man just like you and I. But he came to wisdom. I'm not clear how he got that wisdom, but he came to it. He understood the psychology and spirit of man. He had a direct connection with the idea of God. How did he do that? I don't know. But they made him a God because it's so easy to worship someone that understand what he's communicated. Communicating. He communicated in parables, but very few people understand his parables. I understand his parables. He says something like this: you cannot serve two masters. You will love the one and reject the other. You'll hold on to one and release the other. You cannot serve God and mammon at the same time. And what is mammon? The material. So you focus on the material first, and you have no room for God. You may have a devoted father, a devoted husband, devoted wife, devoted mother. But when your children are gone, you are stuck with yourself. And who are you, for God's sakes? Who are you? You realize that you haven't really fed your spiritual nature, which is your intelligence. And this is where Spinoza is so important. And the improvement of the understanding, which is prior to the 5 parts of the ethics, is called the improvement of our understanding. And there you'll find your true intelligence. But you can't do it yourself. You cannot do it yourself. Why? Because you live from your ego nature. And how do you face your ego nature is through the journaling process. To journal the events that trigger your emotions, your pain, your hate, your anger, your envy, your jealousy, your desires. They are triggered every day, every minute of the day. You become a victim of them. Hate and anger. Right now, in this environment, with the Trump administration, there are many people of color, brown color. I'm from a Mexican descent. My parents were from Mexico. I'm first generation here. I have to carry an ID, a passport, in case I'm stopped by ICE. Many families who have been here for 30, 40, 50 years have children who are born in this country, United States, and they are citizens. But the parents are from Mexico, and many of them are taken from their jobs. Trump is not looking for the worst people who immigrated here, the criminals. They're taking all brown people. Why? Because white supremacist ideology is afraid of losing their power by numbers. The brown people are increasing. They have 3 or 4 or 5, 6 children. And the white people maybe have one or nothing or no children. This is why the White Heritage Foundation wrote their classic book. They want white women not to go to college. They want them to have children. So they're trying to eliminate the brown people, reduce their population. Because again, fear, hate, and anger are the driving force that puts people in submission. So you must have a meaning. You must have a purpose. You must fill this emptiness. And this emptiness can be learn how to awaken it. Awaken your mind to fill that emptiness. I fill my emptiness with clarity and purpose and meaning. I found it through Gurdjieff and Spinoza. I have many videos out there, over 60 on YouTube. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. You might find this work that I do worthy. You may want to become a student because by yourself, you'll remain ignorant and live in your ego nature. You may read and study and hear all these great philosophers and teachers, Alan Watts, Eckhart Tolle, Osho, and many others. But nothing will change. Why? Because you have not faced your ego nature. The ego nature can become the material for your growth. I hope to hear from you. Take care.